From stories across the globe to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
A very good evening. I am Dishan Veerakone, and we start off by taking a look at your top stories for tonight. Racketeers launch an attack on police officials engaged in a cannabis raid. 4 suspects have been arrested. New Sri Lankan record in South Asian athletics. 5,000 lakes throughout the island are to be reconstructed immediately. The Prime Minister instructs bank chiefs to follow a liberalised policy in the provision of loans. 3 specialists enter the ship New Diamond. 4G technology to Lankagama. Starting off with your top story for tonight, Yupun Abekon has been successful in clinching the South Asian record as well as the Sri Lankan record in the men's 100-meter running event. He has achieved this unique feat at an international athletic sports event in Germany yesterday.
Und wir hören es vom Stadionsprecher. Ja, der lustige Mann aus Wieder leichtes Zucken, aber Dennis Almer ist der Erste weg und ist schon vorn. Und ich glaube nicht mehr. Der Mann lag im Finish und einer Superzeit, der schon vorhin angedeutet hat, er bleibt einfach locker.
Yupun Abekon of Sri Lanka has been able to complete the 100-meter event at the German athletic tournament in 10.16 seconds. Yupun has broken the previous record of 10.22 seconds. The previous record has been set up by another Sri Lankan competitor, Himanshu Eshan, last year. Himanshu had twice renewed this record. Prior to Himanshu's achievement, Chintan Dizoisa had claimed the record. Minister of Youth and Sports Affairs Nama Rajapaksa in a Twitter message has congratulated Yupun Abekon on this exceptional victory. Abekon is currently engaged in residential training in Italy. He has expressed opinion over the victory. Now in more news, a red notice alert on further heavy rainfall in the next few hours has been released by the Department of Meteorology. According to the report, thunder showers of around 150 millimeters may occur in the southwestern part of the island. The highest rainfall of more than 100 millimeters was recorded in Udugama, at Kandura and Kahaduwa in the Galle district in the 20 hours that ended at 4:30 am today. The department adds that many areas in the Kalam district have also received rainfall exceeding 100 millimeters.
By roads in Kalam district been inundated, especially in Kalutar as well. Strong wind blown over some areas. The people were affected in the morning, but for the whole day there was no any rain being recorded. High levels around the areas which affected. But the 25 district disaster management units been informed and they have been standby with all the equipments and all. And the military and the police completely standby with all the equipments and the search and rescue teams for the upcoming deployment for the disaster management activities. Especially we are requesting from the public because we have loaded all the information to the 117 call center so people can access via 117 call center number free of charge in 3 languages 24/7 basis, and the services and the information could be coordinated through that number. So emergency operations unit is open with the military and the police and the civilian staff, and we are working for 24/7 basis. As per the meteorological department, they are expecting more rain in the central area as well as the western province, central province, as well as the Galle and Matra district. So people need to be very vigilant with that prevalent situation, especially the Sabaragamu province. So people who are living in the risky area has to be pay a lot of attention over the signs of the landslides. It's very important at this moment. So Met Department is expecting more rain today onwards.
Due to incessant rains of last night, Maligavatta, Armour Street, the Kaduvela 143 bus route and the Biagamma 228 bus route were inundated. Our correspondent says that several locations in the Galle district have also come under water. As a result, obstructions have been caused to vehicle transport. Severe traffic congestion has arisen due to a fall of a massive tree in Madampe on the Chilau-Colombo main road. The police and the residents were able to remove the tree debris within several hours.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the relevant sources today to immediately reconstruct 5,000 reservoirs throughout the island according to ancient technology and latest scientific methods. Along with the revival of the lakes, the National Food Production Program in an extent of 120,000 abandoned paddy fields will get underway. The proposed program in this connection was subjected to an extensive inquiry at a discussion held at the President's office today. The focus of attention was on future planning on the State Minister of Reservoirs affiliated to rural paddy fields and development of reservoirs and irrigation facilities. The meeting was convened under the leadership of the President. It has been pointed out that reconstruction will have to be carried out according to the inherent systems and under common criteria by overcoming shortcomings. It has been pointed out that capacities in several lakes have been reduced due to formation of sediments. There are a large number of tanks with broken bunds. Head of the Presidential Task Force on Economic Rejuvenation, Basil Rajapaksa, has reiterated the need to immediately repair these reservoirs, targeting the Maha season. The President has pointed out the need to reconstruct these reservoirs with the aim of not only increasing paddy cultivation, but also for the provision of drinking water and other irrigation requirements. According to information unveiled through a survey, preparations have been made to cultivate 17 identified agricultural crops as intermediate and mid-season crops with proper water management. Reconstruction of reservoirs should have to be carried out in a manner to safeguard related industries. The President has also given instructions for the reconstruction of dams and canalways in parallel with the reconstruction of lakes. Another factor that was subjected to discussion was the immediate conclusion of development programs pertaining to the North Central Major Canal and the Northwestern Canal project. Under the programs, 1,500 rural lakes in the two provinces will be able to facilitate the cultivation of 80,000 hectares of lands in 2 seasons. Minister Chamal Rajapaksa, State Minister Anuruddha Jayaratne, President Secretary P.B. Jayasundara, as well as representatives of farmer societies also took part in the discussion.
In the meantime, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed heads of state banks today to follow a relaxed policy in the provision of loans. He has given the order at a progress evaluation meeting of the Finance Ministry. The Prime Minister has reiterated that banks should take special care not to allow people coming to the banks to get duties done being subjected to unnecessary difficulties when he arrive in banks to obtain fresh loans. State Minister of Finance Ajit Niwad Kabral has focused the attention of the Prime Minister on the difficulties being experienced by the people who come for the task of the examination of data at the Sri Lanka Credit Information Bureau. The Prime Minister has informed bank heads to adopt an appropriate relief methodology on persons who become unqualified to obtain loans due to the mere reason of the non-inclusion of their names at the Credit Information Bureau due to the simple reason of such a person functioning as a guarantor of a debtor who had defaulted repayment. State Minister Shehan Semasinghe has pointed out on this occasion that the previous government had provided unfair treatment to its party activists in the provision of Samruddhi benefits. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed to look into these allegations and to hand over Samruddhi relief to all low-income families without any political bias. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said that a study has to be conducted without discriminating any of the Samruddhi recipients. If any question arises, the correct methodology will have to be used to find out the appropriate beneficiaries. The Prime Minister further said that the Samruddhi is not a charitable allowance but an incentive to resurrect the recipients from their present plight. Secretary to the Ministry of Finance S.R. Artigala has pointed out on this occasion that the obtaining of loans had doubled during the previous regime. A sum of 28 billion rupees has been set aside for the Saparigama project under the Saubhagya Dakma program. Accordingly, a sum of 2 million rupees is scheduled to be provided to each Gram Niladhari division numbering 4021. Many projects selected by the Rural Community Committee on the instructions of the Prime Minister will be implemented in this connection. The projects include rural road development, enhancement of storage facilities for agricultural produce, development of rural level economic centres, development of irrigation facilities including minor reservoirs, drinking water supply projects, modernizing and uplift of rural medical centres, electricity for schools, enhancement of water and sanitation facilities, and the elimination or minimizing of dangers on human habitat from wild animals. Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Professor W.D. Lakshman, Chairman of the state banks, and officials have also participated in the discussion.
In the meantime, suspects including few women who assaulted the police officers who visited the Marava area in Atulagama Bandaragama to carry out a raid to discover cannabis racket. 2 sub-inspectors, 1 female police sergeant and a female police constable were injured by the aroused tense situation. The police officers conducted the raid in order to discover a cannabis raid which was carried out in the house of an individual named Atulagama Rifai following up on a tip-off received to the police. 2 suspects have obstructed the police officers from performing their duties by behaving in an unruly manner, and a tense situation had followed. It was captured in this manner how a female police officer was assaulted. 4 individuals have fled the scene while another suspect behaved in an aggressive manner in possession of a knife protesting against the raid. The police thereafter arrested 4 suspects at the scene. Additional police officers were also called in due to the tense situation. The house was later investigated by the police and 500 grams of cannabis were discovered as a result. The police further said that island-wide operations are being carried out in order to eradicate organized crimes and drug rackets, and also said that individuals against the eradication process commenced tense situations in this regard. Meanwhile, 2 personnel attached to the Sri Lanka Air Force and another suspect have been taken into custody by the Paduka police in possession of 390 grams of heroin. The suspects were arrested in Paduka and Moragahena areas following up on information revealed while inquiring a drug addict who was arrested earlier. 1 suspect was arrested in Akurasa, Matara. 30 grams of heroin were found in each personnel attached to the Air Force. Following up on information revealed by them, the other suspect was arrested in possession of 350 grams of heroin, which was stuffed in 5,000 packets. It was revealed that the suspect is a close associate of the individual named Kudu Roshan, who was arrested previously in Ratmalana.
Now the report on the 5-member committee appointed to study the bulldozing of a portion of the Ramsar wetlands in Arnavilundawa was tabled in Parliament by Minister C.B. Ratnayaka today. This was in response to a query raised by opposition leader Sajid Premadasa under Standing Orders 27-2. 10 communiques under the Excise Ordinance and 9 orders under the Manufacturing Taxes Special Regulations Act have come under discussion in Parliament today. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa has inquired as to whether the report of the committee appointed by the Minister of Wildlife and Conservation of Forests to study the bulldozing of the ecosystem in a 2-acre extent of the Arnavilunda Wildlife Sanctuary has been presented and whether it will be presented to Parliament. Minister C.B. Ratnayaka said that a 5-member committee has been appointed to look into the Arnavilundawa incident. He added that the report was received only yesterday. The committee has requested a period of 2 weeks in this regard. The minister added that they are prepared to present the report to Parliament. The minister further said that he believes that, as certain media say, the inquirers should go to the site itself to study the incident. The minister recalled that during the time the opposition leader was in power, as well as during the regime of his father, numerous allegations had been launched against politicians. He added that, however, the truth of these charges will have to be realized. Minister Ratnayaka further said that if any person is engaged in such acts of irregularities, they should never be allowed to engage in such activities.
Fire at the ship MT New Diamond was totally doused today. It has also been reported that thereafter, 3 specialists involved in the task of rescuing the vessel has entered it for the first time today. Meanwhile, the Attorney General has instructed the Marine Environment Protection Authority to direct the government analyst today itself regarding obtaining a report upon examination of seawater samples mixed with oil received from the vicinity of the accident. The Navy had reported in the morning on the 3rd of this month on the occurrence of a fire in the ship MT New Diamond. It was transporting a consignment of more than 270,000 tons of crude oil from Kuwait to Paradeep harbour in India. The Sri Lanka Navy, the Sri Lanka Air Force, along with the Indian Coast Guard Task Force and the Sri Lanka Coast Guard Task Force have been engaged in strenuous efforts to control the spread of the fire. Although the fire was fully quenched 2 days ago, it has recurred as a result of the strong windy weather condition prevailed at sea. The ship is currently located around 41 nautical miles away from the Sangamankanda point in Akkare Pattua. The rear portion of the ship, where the engine room is housed, is partly submerged in the sea as a result of continuous accumulation of water for several days. The craft of the Sri Lanka Navy and the Indian Coast Guard, as well as the Ravana and Vasabha tug craft of the Hambantota International Harbour Company, have rendered massive contribution for the rescue of the endangered ship. The observation aircraft of the type Beechcraft of Sri Lanka Air Force was also engaged in continuous rescue operations. The SLAF Mi-17 helicopters were engaged in spraying water from air to help douse the flares. For the first time, the Bell 212 type helicopters of the Air Force had sprinkled more than 5 tons of combustion-resistant chemical powder from time to time near the burning ship with the aim of controlling the fire. An oil patch of the length of around 1 nautical mile was witnessed from the rear of the ship yesterday. The Indian Coast Guard force has taken steps to spray chemicals on it from air. The Air Force says another oil patch was observed.
Now in more local stories, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed officials yesterday to take immediate measures to provide the necessary fertilizer supplies for the Maha season without delay. He had made these remarks at a discussion at the Presidential Office regarding future plans of the State Ministry of Fertilizer Production and Supplies and regularization on usage of chemical fertilizer and pesticides. The government is expecting a cultivation revolution in the local agriculture sector during the forthcoming Maha season. The farmers are anticipating with great interest to grow many crops, including paddy, in a large extent of land which has been subjected to isolation for several decades. Payments have been made appropriately on fertilizer imported this year. The President has reiterated that required fertilizer quantities should be provided to plantations and farmers in higher standards and at the appropriate time. The President said that the fertilizer should be handed over to the farmers and to the plantation sector on time. This process should have to be strictly monitored. In the past, fertilizer valued at billions of rupees were imported to the country without making payments. The President has reiterated that the local fertilizer requirement should be manufactured within the country without resorting to importation. Basil Rajapaksa has stated that there is an ability to manufacture main types of fertilizer locally, as several universities, including the Sri Jayawardenepura University, has conducted research in this connection.
Former Supreme Court judge and president of the Presidential Commission of Investigation on Political Victimization, Upali Abiratna says that if Kaduwala Magistrate Dhammika Hemapala, whose duties have been suspended, fails to appear before the Presidential Commission on the 11th of this month, action will be taken against him on charges of contempt. He made these remarks when a complaint filed by former Secretary to the Ministry of Economic Development, Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka, was convened before the Commission today. The Commission has focused attention on keeping under the custody of judiciary the passport of Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka since 25th of March 2015. Former Supreme Court judge and President of the Commission, Upali Abiratna, stressed on this occasion that it is an illegal act to keep a person's passport under the custody of another person. Justice Chandra Fernando has also pointed out that it is unfair for the judiciary to keep in its possession a passport. The President of the Commission said that this type of activity should be corrected immediately. Dr. Nihal Jayathilaka has made a complaint to the Commission stating that he was arrested and detained through political influences over certain incidents relating to provision of compensation and gratuity allowance to employees who have voluntarily vacated their jobs with the Devi Nagama was transformed into a department, and also on incidents pertaining to provision of relief through the Isrumat housing project. One of the witnesses of the case was Kaduwala Magistrate Dhammika Hemapala, who has been subjected to a suspension of duties. Summons have been issued on him on several occasions, but he has failed to appear before the Commission. Even today, he was not present despite being issued summons to do so. Magistrate Hemapala was reported to have informed the Commission that he needed the permission of the Judicial Services Commission to appear before the Commission investigating political victimization. However, former Supreme Court judge and president of the commission Upali Aberatne has stated that such a permission is not needed to appear before the commission and ordered him to be present at the commission on the 11th of this month. It has also been pointed out that if the Kaduwala magistrate failed to appear before the commission on this date, action will be taken against him on charges of defamation of commission. Summons were also reported to have issued on Ananda Vijaypala, who has functioned as secretary of the Anti-Fraud Commission. The commission was informed that he was not residing in the address where the summons were issued. Therefore, President of the Commission has ordered to paste the notice of summons at the residence where Ananda Vijaypala had stayed for the last time. Meanwhile, an order has also been delivered today to direct the summons issued on behalf of former ministers Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca and Rauf Hakim, as well as on the leader of the Tamil National Alliance, Parliamentarian R. Sambandhan, to be forwarded to the Secretary General of Parliament. We'll be back with more stories. Welcome back. We continue with more stories here at home. Chief Epidemiologist Dr. Siddharth Samaravira says that the public should adhere to prescribed health protective measures as the country is far from safe as COVID-19 outbreak continues to ravage the rest of the world. He made these remarks addressing a media briefing in Colombo today.
Up to now, 3,140 COVID-19 cases has been reported in our country, and yesterday 17 cases were reported. Out of them, 9 were from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Center. Those who are quarantining after that, we revealed the Kandakadu cluster. These are the tail end of this cluster, and that there are several hundred people still that under quarantine, and we expect that a few more cases will be brought in among these people, and it will be weaned off after that. In addition to that, all the other cases are those who are coming from the other countries and quarantining at our quarantine centers. With the overwhelming spread of this disease in the rest of the world, especially in United States, Brazil, and also our close neighbor India, that experiencing very high number of cases, that Sri Lanka is not safe. So because of that, all the people should adhere to healthy measures. Elders, those who are having chronic diseases, should avoid as much as possible coming into the society. Whenever any person is coming to the society, should adhere to healthy precautions. That include maintaining 1 meter distance at all the places, also wearing face mask and hand sanitizing or washing hands with soap and water is very much essential to prevent any leakage of COVID-19 into our society. If it is leaked, we will experience overwhelming number of cases in the country, and it will go out of control, and we will be facing a disaster in that case.
Now, more than 27.7 million people around the world have been diagnosed with the coronavirus, and more than 903,000 have died from the disease. Meanwhile, more than 19.8 million people have recovered thus far. Safety of a prospective vaccine for COVID-19 comes first and foremost, the World Health Organization's chief scientist has said, as a trial of a candidate from AstraZeneca was temporarily paused due to concerns over side effects. In a statement, she has said that the process still has to follow through rules without compromising or cutting corners to produce the vaccine for COVID-19 for the people. Meanwhile, the head of World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, has stressed again that governments can take concrete steps to tackle COVID-19 even before a vaccine becomes available. He made these remarks while speaking by video to health ministers at the opening of the 73rd meeting of the WHO Southeast Asia Regional Committee. United Nations has claimed that the climate change is continuing unabated despite the economic slowdown caused by the coronavirus pandemic. While daily global carbon dioxide emissions saw a 17% drop at the height of the lockdown in April, they were again nearing pre-pandemic levels by early June, according to a climate report by multiple UN agencies. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has indicated that the heating of the planet and climate disruption has continued apace though the COVID-19 pandemic has disrupted lives worldwide. Meanwhile, India has reported a further surge in coronavirus cases as its daily coronavirus tally has increased up to 89,700 new cases. India has been reporting the world's largest single-day increases in cases for more than a month. Its death toll has also been rising by at least 1,000 a day for 8 days straight.
Heading back to more stories here at home, former Chief of the National Intelligence, Cicero Mendes, says that he prioritized the reconciliation process instead of national security, and accordingly he accepts that a mistake has occurred during his tenure as the National Intelligence Chief. He made these statements before the Presidential Commission on Inquiry on the Easter Sunday attacks. Retired DIG Cicero Mendes was assuming the position of the Chief of the National Intelligence when the Easter attacks occurred. He recorded his statement before the Presidential Commission in this regard yesterday for the first time. Commencing his statement, the witness said that he retired in 2011 after serving in the Sri Lanka Police for 38 years. He said that he didn't accept the position even though then Defence Secretary BM.UD Basnayaka had informed him that his name had been nominated for the position of National Intelligence Chief. Although he said that he accepted the position later, the additional solicitor inquired the witness on what he recognized as the responsibilities of the position. Responding, the witness said that he was aware that the responsibility is to coordinate between the Army Intelligence Unit, Terrorism Investigation Division and the Criminal Investigation Departments. Later, the Commission inquired the witness whether he prioritized reconciliation instead of national security and whether he accepts that as a mistake. The witness responded that he followed a wrong course of action at that time. Accordingly, the additional solicitor inquired the witness regarding the Security Council. The witness said that then Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe did not attend any of the National Security Council meetings after the 52-day government in October 2018. Further, the witness said that he was asked by then Defence Secretary Kapila Vaidyaratne to relay a message to the IGP saying that the President asked him not to attend National Security Council meetings. The witness, however, said that he was reluctant to pass on the message in this regard. Meanwhile, former Chief of the National Intelligence, Cicero Mendes, recorded statements before the Presidential Commission on Inquiry on the Easter Sunday attacks for the second day. The witness said that even though the intelligence review meetings were held after the discovery of explosives in Laktavatta in Vanatha-Vellua, no officials of the Criminal Investigation Department who were engaged in the investigation were present at the meeting. The witness further added that the CID had not submitted any report in this regard to the Office of the Chief of National Intelligence. The charging, or rather the chairing judge of the Commission, inquired on any persons why the CID top officials did not attend the intelligence review meetings, which was chaired by himself. Responding, the witness said that the top officials of the CID have ignored the meeting because he had worked as the director and the DIG of the Criminal Investigation Department. Meanwhile, 10 Muslim organizations have requested the Presidential Commission to cross-examine the statements recorded by the Secretary of the Bodhipala Sena organization, Kalagoda Atte Nyanasara Thera. The Commission granted permission in this regard, and cross-examining commenced today for the second day. Meanwhile, former Eastern Province Governor MLA Hizbullah recorded statements before the Presidential Commission on Inquiry on the Easter Sunday attacks today.
Now, steps have been taken to provide Mobitel 4G technology to the residents of Lankagama, which is located alongside the Singaraja rainforest. The project is implemented jointly by the Sri Lanka Telecom and Mobitel. The constructing of roads, which was a main necessity of the Lankagama residents, was commenced by the intervention of the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Telephone facility is another main necessity of the residents. The residents presented the requisition to the President at his time of visit to the area. Accordingly, Sri Lanka Telecom and Mobitel ventured in the process of providing the service. A video conference was held through the newly implemented 4G LTE technology in between Colombo and the residents of Lankagama in order to test the coverage. The main objective of the process is to ratify the speed and the quality of the Mobitel technology. Officials including the Director General of the Telecommunications Regulatory Commission of Sri Lanka, Oshada Senanayaka, and Chairman of the SLT Group, Rohan Fernando, were also present at the occasion. Now, in more stories, today's red light feature looks at the Handapan Villa Dam in Valikanda. This is the dam constructed along Villuva in Handapan Villa, Valikanda in the Mahavalley B zone. A portion of construction carried out 10 years ago at a cost of 10.1 million rupees had broken last year. As a result, 1,250 acres of paddy land had become barren. This has directly affected the livelihood of more than 120 families. The red light questions as to whether it is not a responsibility of the authorities to take adequate measures to rectify these shortcomings before spending a large sum of money on such projects. The State Minister in charge of rural paddy fields and related reservoirs and irrigation development, this is for your attention. Stay tuned for news overseas.
Welcome back. We move on to news overseas now. A roadside bomb in Kabul targeted Afghan Vice President Amrullah Saleh on Wednesday morning, but he escaped unharmed, his spokesman said. The attack killed at least 6 people.
A roadside bomb in Kabul targeted first Afghan Vice President Amrullah Saleh on Wednesday. He escaped unharmed, but the attack killed at least 6 people and wounded 12. The bomb exploded as Saleh denied involvement in the attack, which comes just ahead of the peace talks between a burn on his face and an injury to his hand in the attack. The former intelligence chief has nation attempts, including one on his office last. International powers have condemned the attack. The EU delegation in Afghanistan said in a statement that this blast is by US-backed forces in late 2001.
Now, a fire that tore through a major Greek refugee camp has forced thousands of its occupants to flee onto the island of Lesbos, even as dozens tested positive for coronavirus.
Over 12,000 people and was already massively overcrowded at more than 4 times its state. And it's unclear whether migrants will stay now with the camp in ruins. Police were forced to release about 200 persons who were to be repatriated to their countries. Conditions at Moria had been criticized by aid groups who say it is impossible to implement social distancing and basic hygiene measures. A fire that tore through a major refugee camp in Greece has forced thousands of its occupants to flee onto the island of Lesbos, even while dozens of them tested positive for coronavirus. The Greek government has put the island into a state of emergency. The Moria camp, as it's called, has likely been totally destroyed. The fire broke out just after midnight Tuesday, and the cause isn't immediately clear. Initial reports suggested fires broke out at a different location in the sprawling camp after authorities tried to isolate some individuals who'd tested positive for coronavirus. Arson has not been ruled out of the investigation. The Moria facility hosts over 12,000 people and was already massively overcrowded at more than 4 times its stated capacity. Lesbos has seen several protests in the past, both from locals and migrants, sometimes violent. And it's unclear whether migrants will stay now with the camp in ruins. Police were forced to release about 200 persons who were to be repatriated to their countries. Conditions at Moria had been criticized by aid groups who say it is impossible to implement social distancing and basic hygiene measures.
And that's a wrap of tonight's Primetime News, and until we meet again next time, do take care and good night.
Good night.